So maybe you've noticed that I've turned it upside down. It used to be this way with the yellow on top, and now it is the other way around, simply because it just felt right for me to do it that way. So we have the blue on top and the yellow on the bottom. We can see that, it's just kind of a misty series of colors, but the blue above feels skyish and the yellow down below feels like the ground. So now what we have to decide, what are we going to do? Where are we going to take this? To me, it's starting to feel like there's a couple of figures. There's a couple of individuals here, and I'm not quite sure just what they're going to be yet. Again, we're still just working with pastel, but later on we'll be working in some paint. And the paint is going to help a lot too. It's going to be adding some texture. It'll mute some of the color. And that's kind of what I want. I don't want such basically primary colors showing through. I want to kind of knock that back a little bit. Again, we're going to just do a bit of this, blend some of that color in. As we blend the color into the paper, it does get denser. So the color gets richer. I just work with my fingers in here. Perhaps a leg, and perhaps something in here. Something like this. And feels. I'm just sketching in possibilities for weights and so on. Again, you can just take your hands sometimes and just blend some of the color in. And at the same time, it is producing what I think are beautiful colors. The color itself, the hue is fracturing, and underlying color or the underpainting is showing through. And that is what is giving colors that are actually hard to define, hard to name. I always find that personally quite interesting. I like to see that when it's happening. It feels like something wants to be a horse. This diagonal up here reminds me of a neck of a horse and figure on the horse. This is what I mean though about Conjuring. We started with something that was pretty abstract, but as we're making some decisions now, a figure is emerging here. Seems to be something like a leg there. Again, I feel like there's a horse of some kind with a figure, with a rider on top. All right, so let's give him a hat of some kind, maybe. Yeah, looks like a big sombrero. Okay, so we have the beginning of something emerging, kind of a couple of figures. You can see it's almost like they're stepping out of the mist. So we're going to try and make them more real. We do that simply by working on them more, by developing more, deciding what their character is going to be or what the character of the picture itself is going to be. So now it's time to just deepen some of the colors. They're a little bit on the very light side right now, so I think I just sort of want to come in here and give this guy a little more definition in here. Violet color again in here. Kind of a red leg here, why not? I think we're going to just bring in a little bit of black punctuation. I'm going to get my black pastel, just do a few little bits and pieces just to give it some bite here and there. So I think this is a little girl up on the horse. So you can see the drawing efforts that I'm making are really pretty primitive. We're going to come in with some paint as well. The paint is going to give a bite. It's going to give some real bite to the picture. Just a little bits and pieces. We can see that there is the sense of a face beginning to emerge. Again, I'm still working very much on the flat side of the pastel, so I'm not really going for any accurate drawing at this point. It's the environment of the painting that we're thinking of right now. We're not getting into all the specifics of expression and position and that kind of thing. But anyway, you can sort of see how things are beginning to emerge. We will, just gain more and more of a sense of perhaps his posture, the weight of him, of her, of the horse. So it's mainly warm colors right now. And I'm going to stay with that. As much as I like this blue area in here, I kind of don't want to add more blue. So I think what I'm going to do is work in this area here with the brown. You can see where just adding more density to the tones in here, adds more weight, a little more strength to the horse's leg. I'm also careful that I don't knock out the system of tones. So if I've got some really dark tones like these black, little spots of black in the picture, and there's some mid-tone in this area, there's also a lot of light tones. So 1, 2, 3 values, shall we say. As I see what's happening down here with his boots and the horse's hoofs, and a little bit of noise happening in here, I can adjust that if I want to. But, I like this strip down here. And I think if I were to add shadows from that sun, I would be creating some diagonals that I don't think I want. So I will continue to work developing his hoofs and his boots maybe. But before I do that, there's an area in here where I do want to get some strong blue, part of the horse's cheekbone. I want to bring that out. And I want to just get in there. It's kind of a nice gray blue right now. So it's really quite nice. These colors are starting to play. They're starting to make that music that I was talking about down in here too. There. So that in there right now is out of key with most of the other painting. However, this is a nice color. This is a very, very useful blue. It's sort of a lilac blue. And I can use this possibly in here. Maybe just knock that back a bit from being so green. Yeah, so I used that violet blue, think it was going to be useful, and wasn't really. So I'm going to knock it back with some of this. Sometimes there are places that intellectually you think, well, I have to resolve that. I should put a shadow under here so that his sleeve is kind of across his midriff, and it's casting a bit of a shadow, and the form is described better that way. Again, that might be one of those things to resist doing, to resist acting on. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I feel like I should do that, but I'm not ready to do it yet. Because there are other areas that I think need attention first. So what happened here when I added that blue, it's fairly intense blue, especially over the red, that can also be echoed in the horse here, because there's areas of blue in the horse. I kind of would like to bring them out. Let's see what happens when I do that. Right into here. Wow. So do you see how that little bit of blue kind of livens up that color? So I'm going to say this picture is finished. You'll notice even some of the green and so on is still making its presence known in very subtle ways. And that's the key. So I like that subtlety, but I also like the expression of those colors. The body language of the figures is what it is. I didn't go into a big treatment and sort of portraiture of any of them. It's all really playing with the color and the tones, and mostly, in this case, pastel. A little bit of acrylic in the iron oxide red through the horse here, up there in the clouds, down here in his chaps, a little bit in the background, letting that dark, dense paint come through and express itself. But the overall picture is, it is what it is, and I think it's done. I hope you've enjoyed moving through this picture with me, and there's more to come, so I hope we will meet again.